So we have this field here, and then we have the one up top that I have the temporary electric wire going around the barbed wire. Well, we've got the trailer hooked on to the excursion. I've got to get these corral panels pulled off down here. They're basically sitting in a creek, and I'm worried about them rusting out. We're gonna go ahead and pull them up from the bottom of the hill and put them to the top of the hill where the corral is gonna be permanently. So we put this temporary corral down here this last spring, but it was just a complete temporary setup. It's really, really wet running through here. If you can see, some of these panels are actually underwater by probably 9, 10 inches, something like that. So I want to pull these out of here. That is actually where the permanent corral setup is going to be. But we're just going to set them up to the top of the hill so they don't rust out. I don't have that area fenced off permanently yet. And I would like to have that area fenced before we get more animals this fall. So we've got a lot of work to do before this all gets set back up permanently, but we need to get this out of the water for now before it rusts out. I'll tell you what, that's no easy task. Those things are about 150 pounds a piece. They're not regular cattle panels, they're bull panels. They're not light. We're gonna go ahead and bring this hay ring up while we're at it. This is a very, very light duty hay ring. I don't like it, but it's the only one I got, so I'm gonna try to hang on to it. I don't even know if I'm gonna use it this winter or if I'll get something else, but we're gonna bring it up with the corral also. Well, I wasn't able to get these T-posts out. They were sunk into the ground pretty deep in order to hold these panels up good and strong. So I'm gonna have to come back with either a puller or a 3-point lift on a tractor. I wasn't able to wiggle them out. Probably some of it has to do with so much ground moisture. It's just pressing them on them so much. But I feel a lot better about getting that done. Maybe we'll actually get some grass growing on this. And kind of give it a little bit of a rest. Meanwhile, while I was working, these guys were all just lazing in the shade and taking a nice swim. They have muddied up the water pretty good, and that's actually how they like it best. They love the mud. Well, that was actually quite the task. Those things wore me out. It's about 90 degrees out right now, and 150 pounds per panel, and moving them twice, there's 10 panels, that wore me out. But it was good to get that done. I was planning on setting them up, but I opted out of that because if you can see here, this fence right here is gonna get moved. I'm gonna move it back probably about 15 to 20 feet, and I don't know the exact spot yet, so I don't want to set those up yet. I'm going to run that fence line and then we'll get those set up. So I at least got them leaning against the hay bale, hay ring, so they're out of the water. They're not going to be rusting out. They already started to pit a little bit at the bottom. These things are not cheap. They are not your standard cattle panel. They are for pressure. They call them bull panels. They're heavier duty. They're a little bit short for bison. I want the panels to be somewhere around 6 to 6.5, even 7 foot tall. Preferably, I like 7 foot tall corrals. Basically, what I'm going to be doing with these is these are going to be used as like a catch pin. So lower pressure, but it needs to be stronger than a fence. It's time to get some mowing done now. Empty. Empty. Seems like I'm always at the gas station filling something up. Hey, I've got an idea. Tesla, why don't you make a tractor? So we've got a lot of projects going on. I think what we're gonna go ahead and do right now is we're gonna go survey the property where we're gonna put up fencing here shortly. I need to mow some of that fencing area and then just try to figure out where all my corner posts are gonna go and things like that. So if you guys can see here, this is the first field that I initially fenced. So we have this field here, and then we have the one up top that I have the temporary electric wire going around the barbed wire. I don't like that. We're gonna redo that. But what we have here, behind me here, is the large main field. So the plan is to get this actually fenced in, hopefully before the next round of bison come. If I can't get it done in time, it's not the end of the world. I can put them on this one over here, but I would like to get this done sooner rather than later. One of the main reasons is because this has a lot of grass on it. We didn't hay it or anything like that, and it would be a good stockpile for the animals for this winter. So we're gonna go around it with the tractor. I'm gonna kind of figure out where the fence line needs to go, where my corners need to go. It's not quite a square. I've got to make a little bit of a weird jog around a pond. And while we're doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and mow it, and then we'll probably try to keep that line mowed a little bit, at least until I can get it fenced off. That way, when we go to fence, it will be a lot easier to run those lines. They were all fine over here relaxing by the pond until I came over with the tractor, and then they said, the heck with that, we're moving on. This is going to be one of the tricky areas. Right above my pond, the main pond, I've got this area that we were digging out rock. I've got like this rock slab in here. I think what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to rent or find somebody who has a rock bit that I can sink down, probably the exact size as the used oil field pipe, or I'm going to have to find something that's a little bit larger that I can concrete to this rock, because this rock slab, the bits we have for the auger, is not going to work. This little area right here is going to be a little bit of a trick too, because we got kind of some gullies to go through. What I'm trying to do is stay as close to these woods as I can and utilize as much of this pasture as I can. I don't want to get into these woods because this surrounds that pond that I have, and it's spring fed, and I don't want the bison getting into that spring or that creek area. So I'm trying to fence that entire wooded area off, but I want to get as close to those woods as I can. Well, the line beside the driveway should be fairly easy. I'm just going to follow the curve of the driveway. We'll have multiple posts to follow the curve. Around the pond and that rocky area, that's what's going to be a trick. So basically, I've got one side of this that's already fenced, one side that's adjacent to my neighbor's property, which is completely wide open, no fences. I can just start running fence. Super easy. Then we have one side that has a barbed wire fence that's dilapidated that needs taken down beforehand. And then there's around the pond area, which has all that rock, and going around the pond with all the woods, just gonna get tricky. So I think I'm gonna go around this thing again in reverse and mow that line really straight and clean, and then we will do some more assessing after that. Well, here is another problem area that I didn't notice going through one way. That's why we're going through the other way. This is a pretty good dirt mound that must have gotten dug up when the pond was being messed with before me. So that's gonna have to have some skid steer work done. I'm gonna have to level that before we get a fence in here. So let me paint you a picture on this. We got this line right here, which is going to be the line that has all the barbed wire that needs taken out. Right here is the line that's along the neighbor's adjoining area. Right here we have all this is Bison area that's already done. And then this is going to be along the driveway here. And around here, all this has to go around the pond. So I've got to take that fence out. All this around this pond is going to be super difficult with all the rocks. This along the driveway shouldn't be too bad. Just got to curve the driveway. This will be fairly easy. And this is already done. Hopefully that's as clear as mud. Well, I think I at least have a good grasp on the level of difficulty. I need to do a little bit more planning. I need to do some measuring, and then I should be able to start ordering supplies. I've got to get my hands on some oil fill pipe, and then some high tensile wire and some insulators and things like that. So we are at least at the beginning stage of getting this fence going. Black Feather has gotten pretty mangy. She's lost probably a third of her coat off of her, which is really cool because I named her Black Feather because she was so dark, and the coat that she's losing is actually lighter than the coat that's underneath. So she is a really, really dark animal. I love watching them. It seems like whatever they do is just majestic. So now that we've identified the pathway of the fence and our fence line, it's time to do some clearing, and I'll be honest, we got our work cut out for us. You know, hedge is great. I love burning it. I love using it on fence posts, but I hate cutting it. I hate cutting down a good tree. This is a really nice tree here, but unfortunately, it is right in the fence line. Well, we were able to top it, so this part here is still stuck in the fence line, but we'll cut that at the base, and that's the easy part to cut out. The rest of it is, at least the top of it is down, So now I need to cut it up into at least manageable pieces that I'll be able to throw over the fence line and into a burn pile. Some of it's going to get burned, and then some of it will either get used as fence posts on my property or someone else's, and then some of it is probably going to get used as firewood. Basically, I'm trying to cut myself out. This whole thing just kind of went in every direction, and it's basically just like mushroomed. So I'm trying to give myself a pathway out that way to the field so I can start cutting and pulling branches out that way. But it's a spider web right now. Well, imagine that. My neighbor saw me out working, and he said he's gonna come over with his skid steer and grapple and pull some of these branches away and pile them for me. That'll make it a lot easier. That's a little faster than by hand. That saved me at least a couple days. That was a tremendous help. Smitty, if you're watching this, thank you. It's funny, when I work on stuff like that, it doesn't really bother me at all. I kind of like the hard labor. I like to sweat a little bit. But man, when you have somebody come over like that and basically take what you were gonna do for a couple days worth of work and turn that into a 15-minute job, it's pretty nice. It makes you really thankful for machines like this and machines like that. They make life easy. Strong Wind still has not lost that patch of fur on her right side. Coyote is filling in really nicely though. You can't have the microphone. Thank you for watching, guys. My name is Noah Gordon. We are Broken Arrow Bison, and we will see you next time.